Yes. You want to announce? The other one also. And then you are coming here. Yeah, but a lot of academics. So I like the sorry, I was writing. When I'm not writing, I should be. It's trying everybody doesn't care what I was doing. So I was thinking maybe come there. Yeah. Good use. That explains why I can't. Everyone, thank you so much for coming. We will begin by 5:30. This is our ploy to get you all in time. So there's chai at the back and maybe some snacks. You're free. Sorry, in the kitchen. Sorry. And so please grab chai and things like that, and then we start.
Yes,
Yeah, then yes, please. Yeah, I can have please go and have chai and nashta because we can start after that. Good evening. Also get right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. What do we need? What part of it?
But that's great. Okay, so now, and there seems to be some activity on the live stream, so there are probably people listening to you. Um, I'll quickly introduce the project and then hand it over to my colleagues and then come back at the end to kind of give my comments, remarks, and responses. So yeah, roughly, my name is Nupur. I'm a PhD researcher at the University of California, Irvine, and I collaborated with Sumantro and CIS to apply to the Azim Premji University Research Grants Program to be able to do this work, which is sort of comparative field studies of digital labor in India. This is by no means a comprehensive project, but really just a first step in the direction of doing something like this and setting an agenda for doing similar research. So what my colleagues are going to present here are also, there's a bigger, longer report in the making which will come out eventually, but they're going to try and share sort of their personal journeys of doing something like this, which we think that is a sort of newer form of digital physical ethnographies. And they'll try and talk you through some of their personal experience of researching ride-hailing, which is Uber and Ola and such services, as well as food delivery platforms and the work that happens through them. Most of the work they've done is, all of the work is in Mumbai and Delhi NCR. There's a question, there's a comment about why we chose the cities and so on and so forth. But I actually want to hold on to that and come back at the end and kind of tell you the more meta story of how we went about choosing and making some of these decisions to study what we studied. Of course, if you have questions, given the size of the crowd, I would request you to hold on to them till the end. We'll try and keep each presentation to about 8 to 10 minutes and not more. And then I'll present a bunch of my comments at the end, and then we'll open it up to the public for discussion. So that's kind of the format. Yeah, so I think we can start. The first fellow, I'll just tell you his name for those who can't see, is Rajendra. Rajendra has been researching ride-hailing apps in Delhi NCR region, and he's going to talk about it. Oh, sorry, he's been researching food delivery apps in the NCR region, and he'll talk about it. And yeah, over to you. You might have to be loud because there are like people at the end who can't see you. Yeah. Sorry.
Hello, good evening, and hello to all. I'm loud enough? No, for the people who are sitting. So, could you hear me, no?
Yes. Yeah, they can hear you. I can see them.
So, I'm going to talk about the study which I have done in Dwarka region of New Delhi city. It is about the gig economy, gig workers who are work as a food delivery or delivery boys in the Delhi city. So I have done this study as introduced by Nupur with the financial help of CIS under the supervision of Sumendra and Nupur. So I have studied, I have researched out this with these all four aggregator companies, four which we call app-based delivery companies or online food delivery companies. So this work, as I have mentioned, this work has done in Dwarka, where there are around 3,000 food delivery workers work with these four major app-based companies. So we try to understand the socio-economic profile of this worker who are engaged with this platform work. Again, we also try to understand the skills and legal documents required to join this work as a worker and the skill acquired by the worker to work these companies. We also try to understand the process of recruitment, eligibility criteria for to joining the work, and training provided by this aggregator companies. And we also intended to explore the life of these food delivery workers. So these companies has started operated in India in around 2011, and by now, as per the reported by all these companies on by their various reports, there are 5 lakh delivery workers work in India in majorly 100 to 150 cities and the big towns in India. Normally, the business operates from 8 a.m. in the morning until the 4 a.m. of the following day, and the companies claim in their recruitment sites or claim in their reports that these are the independent contractors, the business associates, and they can choose to log in and log out. Means they can start work. Log in is a starting work. Log out is a stop the work at any time whenever they want in a day. So for this work, I have interviewed the delivery workers who are working with the companies. Second, to order the food online to these various app-based companies, and then when worker come to my place to deliver the order, when they came to the Delhi, means migrated to the city, and which is their native place, what were they doing before joining these aggregator companies, how many hours they do work every day, and their education, age, and social status. So it was the initial interaction with them, and on the basis of that, I have interacted around with the 40 people in that period, and then I have recruited 15 delivery workers to interview. But out of that, I can interview 10 people. Some of them dropped out, or some of them were not comfortable, so they leave it in between the interview. Again, the restaurant owner, and which I have mentioned, dropout workers and society guards. Uh, the work slot at the companies they have the choice. There is a part-time, full-time, and ultra full-time. And ultra full-time works looks like it's like a 16 hours in a day. It start in the morning and finish at 12 at the midnight. The recruiter companies, that's I have said, they claim that they can log in and log out. I am repeating it because this is not a true story, because they have always mentored and monitored, and they have to be work for several hours in a day. So there is no need of formal education to join this work. There is only you should be able to communicate with the customer कि आपका घर कहाँ है या कैसे पहुंचना है, if they are not able to find the house. The payment structure is depend on the deliveries they do in a day, the hours they work, and the rating by the customer. So this is on this background, I just trying to tell you that these people are monitored by this company. Whenever the company claim that they are an independent partner or business associate, but that is not the true story. In February 2019, when one company had changed their payment structure from 40 rupees per delivery to 30 rupees per delivery, they reduced the payment. At that time, the workers has gone on strike. But when they leave the company, then go to the field and immediately log in. If you are not able to log in next 6 hours, you will be terminated, or you will be made unauthorized to work with these companies. So there is a system of team leader and the workers. In between team leader and workers, there is one more layer. They didn't know. There are some people who work with the company on payroll, and they keep monitoring the workers, whether they have wear a t-shirt or not, whether they are carrying a bag or not, and they are taking the photos of these people. Also, the company send a message or call them and ask के आपका immediately selfie लेके you send it to the company. They wanted to check whether you are properly dressed up or not. And whenever there is an issue, the company claimed that the role of the team leader is to help these workers to sort out the issue, but normally they do not mentor. The major role of this team leader and the people is to monitor them, to find them. If I'm not dressed, or I'm not in t-shirt, or I don't carry the bag, then they fine it 200 rupees, which is cut from their weekly earnings, not salaries. Company said it it's earning. The another thing is that in any company there is a some mechanism to sort out the workers issue, but these are such a big company, but they don't have any mechanism to address the workers issue. As a worker, if I have something to say, I need to explain something to whom I don't know. There is no mechanism, there is no something like HR which will look after the issues of the worker. This is one major thing. So whatever happen, whatever get communicated only from the company side, and there is no mechanism to listen the worker. This is the major worry. The workers, they have gathered the information who has initiated the strike, who will take initiatives, and then they have suspended around 70 to 80 people out of 700 to 800. 10% of the people were suspended, means make unauthorized to use the app, and they cannot work anymore with the companies. The second worry is that when if a person wanted to join a work, they have to visit the hub, and some recruitment agencies are also there. The workers has to submit their documents like the bike insurance, RC paper, license, PAN card, bank details for the salaries. But and they have to sign a form. There are some terms and conditions, rules and regulations. But workers didn't get copy of that agreement. Even workers do not allow to take a photocopy of that paper which where I have signed, which are the terms and conditions which I have accepted as a worker, I don't know. So they are not, they didn't get any agreement, they didn't get any statement from the company, but they have to submit their paper. The worker has to submit their papers and their signed agreement documents. And when asked, what is your identity? How can you prove you are working with such company? So company explained to them, you have a T-shirt, your bag is identity. You are carrying bag means you are working with this XYZ company. You are wearing identity t-shirt. It means that you are working with the company, and you got the access to app, which is a runner, and you are authorized. You have got some password to enter and to start work. This is your identity. They said the company told them you have got the insurance, but everything you have got the insurance, all the papers in the app, but the app is completely and solely controlled by company only, and workers have nothing to prove their engagement with the company as a worker. So yeah, okay, so for now I'm stopping here, and will speak later on if you have any question. Thank you.
Um, I am Simran, and I also studied food app-based food delivery work and workers, but in Mumbai. Okay, sorry. So Simran and I also studied app-based food delivery workers in Mumbai. So quickly before I start, I'll tell you that like I'm generally interested in questions of eating out, food discovery, labor practices that enable food cultures. So that's the lens I had when I got in. And right now, since we have very little time, I thought I'd speak about two major findings that excited me. Then I'd go on to speak about one difficulty I faced and one comment on method. So the first finding I'd like to start with is the existence of non-delivery app-based workers. So, but before I say that, I could sort of begin with a little anecdote. So, the field that I visited was mostly western suburbs in Bombay, and since I live very close to many malls, I went outside the service yard of a mall, which is where app-based food delivery workers hang out, and I would hang out there. And the first day I went there, I noticed there were a lot of people whispering and giggling when I reached. So I assumed it's me, my woman middle class consumer identity, perhaps, that making me a funny piece over there. So I just tried to be cool about it and sort of go talk to people. They told me what wasn't order. And my interest got piqued. Perhaps my middle classness, whatever, also was a factor. But they also thought I was an auditor, and which is when I realized there's an entire, like there's a lot of people working, other than the fact that the company monitors a worker through selfies or technological ways of monitoring, there are actual people employed, also often in very unstable work conditions, who monitor and make this tech work possible. So there's a lot of auditors who work for say 3 months, and then their job role changes every few months. Then there are fleet managers. So depending on the company, they have different ways of doing this. But there's a lot of non-delivery workers who monitor and sort of make delivery work possible. And the second another thing is that it's not just people who are employed by the app. So non-delivery workers, as in even cloud kitchens and chefs who work in cloud kitchens, the pressures that the work of being a chef in a cloud kitchen creates. Someone said that their work moved from, he worked in a restaurant initially, and that was a shift, like a fixed shift. And then when he started working in a cloud kitchen, it was 18 hours of work, 600 pieces of sort of orders that he made in a day. So my point is that there's a lot more to explore in this direction. There is not just the app-based food delivery worker who's making app-based food delivery possible, but there's swathes of other workers employed by the app, and also just by other businesses created out of this kind of work, and they are not all formal or secure jobs either. So that's something that I think I can speak more about in the report, and also that I'm very interested in exploring further. It also shows like a big spectrum maybe of tech work and the possibilities of it. So I'll wind that up. The second point that I'm excited to share is also the how do I say this? Maybe I should just refer to this. Yeah. And the second thing that I was very curious about was the people who don't deliver on apps. So the non-app-based delivery workers. And there was a bit of a curiosity in my mind that why did they join apps? I mean, it seems like something that one could do. But so I found out that it's not a very homogeneous unit. I spoke to Udupi delivery boys, and it's interesting that they're called delivery boys as opposed to partner workers, anything else. So I spoke to Udupi delivery boys, restaurants in general, and their delivery boys, and a few fast food company delivery boys as well. And it's interesting that the Udupi worker is someone who is a single male migrant and lives in accommodation that is given by the state or the employer, who's always referred to as the state, never a boss or any such terms. So that nomenclature also reveals that the relationship of the employer and the employee. So the state will give the delivery boy a place to stay and 3 meals a day, which enables his single male migration to Mumbai, and for him to be able to send remittances back home. And also, one deterrent for other delivery boys to join apps was that, one, their domicile is not from the city. And the second, and the more interesting thing for me, was also that while apps, they seem to solve the question of what to eat next, or the next cooked meal for the customer, right? When you don't know what to eat, you don't know where to get your next cooked meal from, you can order it as a customer. But it seems that they also create that question, right? Like, they create the question of what is the next cooked meal for the worker. If the worker doesn't have a household here, he has to spend a lot of money. Whereas if you're working in a more traditional non-app setup, you're getting a meal from the employer. So the question, of a cooked meal doesn't exist. So that is my second area of interest, and something I hopefully explore a little more in the report, and also hope to maybe eventually go further and look at it. But it's the question of social reproduction, if I may. While it resolves the question for the customer, it creates one for the worker. So that was the second point. My quick comment on my difficulty was that I was very, very invested in wanting to speak to women delivery workers, because companies have been sort of presenting it as a very progressive sort of thing that now women deliver food on apps. And so it was really hard for me to find women workers because they're just not as visible, because there aren't as many in numbers. So it's interesting, and it's not just a complaint. It's also interesting because I would have to ask the other male workers if they knew women workers. So I have to now go through men to meet women, which is more. So another interesting thing is that everyone's seen women workers. So if like the eyes on the street, like a cobbler or a panwala in the area have seen women workers, so they all recognize them and they all know them. But nobody can help me reach out to them because in order to be decent and respectable, nobody has found out even their names. So they'll have names for that. They'll be like, wo moti wali, wo choti wali. You know, they have these names, but they don't know their real names. So it's it's challenging to also find women workers. That was one comment on method, on women workers. And the comment on method was that so I was sort of looking online, and I noticed on YouTube there's a lot of delivery workers putting up content. So they talk about protests, or there's a lot of workers speaking a lot online, even as individuals. So I would drop some comments saying, Bhaiya, research kar rahe hai, can you talk to me? So mix of Hindi, English, Marathi, whatever seemed like they were speaking, I would leave a comment. And it's one thing is, okay, I have two things to say about this. One is that I found that a lot of workers from non-metro cities started to reach out to me, and that was more than metro cities because I think there's less ability for. And this is a complete assumption, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm just saying it's really interesting. And that's something I couldn't pursue because my field was Mumbai, but that's also very interesting. There were lots of people from other smaller cities who were more invested in wanting to speak about issues. And the second thing is that I think it's so important to look at what workers are saying online because that is a place where they are already articulating at some level of the level of conversation is reached somewhere. Like they're already saying something. They're displaying a language also that many of us assume they don't have. So that's one thing. And yeah, and I think so if one has to seriously engage with them, it's also necessary to sort of look at that. And also in conversation, even if people aren't uploading things or writing online or speaking online, they are referencing stuff that they have heard of or read or so they are consuming it, they're engaging with it. So the point of the method was more like maybe we should all look at this some more, and
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I work as a journalist in Delhi. I'm researching on ride-hailing cabs in Delhi NCR. So, nearly anyone who's used these cab services will know that they had at least one conversation. Sorry. Sure. Anybody who's used these services has had at least one conversation asking drivers how much money they need. I mean, there are people who are trying to call elections based on that, and LinkedIn morality gyan is based on cab riding conversations. So that's how ubiquitous they are in our lives. But when you talk about mainstream media coverage, a lot of it is about declining earnings, the strike has happened, users are inconvenienced. In this context, it's important to understand that even a basic question of the income is not just a figure. There are layers of negotiations that must be successful for it to translate into earnings. So when you see the discussion globally around performing labor on these apps, most of it is grounded in the precarity of gig work. Through my findings, I want to analyze the specific features of this precarity for cab driving in the Delhi region. Some of these are unique because of the geographical and administrative challenges such as traffic police concerns or fraud customers. But before I delve deeper into this discussion, I want to talk a bit about my methods. Conversations around revenue generation allow companies to put out their sites, but conversations about poor service in social media allows users to put out their sites. It's generally the drivers whose conversations and whose viewpoints we're not exposed to. This is not to suggest that they lack agency or voice, but to argue that the structure of their work makes it difficult for them to articulate. As a subsection of a larger study, this report is based on observations in the field and semi-structured interviews with a range of stakeholders, mostly of which are cab drivers. I spoke to about 15 cab drivers for both Uber and Ola. I also spoke to people who are manning customer kiosks for these at metro stations, as well as service centers that these companies have set up. Broadly, these groups can be grouped as career drivers and those who migrated from non-driving jobs into this business. Before going into the field, when I started out in the month of January, I was looking to understand how technology was a mediator in a more material sense, like how the drivers were using apps and maps, how they dealt with technical snacks, etc. And if using tech for work had permeated into other aspects of their life, such as leisure. But conversations in the field made me realize that drivers were dealing with more intangible layers of technology that was governing their earnings but giving them very little control over their life. Further, as workers, their sight of livelihood was not constant, which added a new layer of risk pertaining to their own safety, something that I had not thought about earlier but was extremely crucial for them, and something they flagged instantly, even without prodding to anyone they perceived to be sympathetic to their cause. At this point, it's crucial to understand that my interviews with them were not sit across the table interviews. We were mostly on the go in a cab, and these drivers were in the front, and we were participating in a structured interaction that was to be concluded by transaction. Drivers had felt particularly vulnerable while describing instances of bad passenger behavior. Coming back to themes, I want to quickly just talk about the several researchers in India who are working on this work. For instance, Aditi Suri works on arguing that the informalization of cab work in the US is not the same as India, because in India there's a large chunk of informal work already happening. Similarly, Akriti Bhatia's work looks at linkage between patterns of migration and informal work, including cab driving. Scholars Reena middle layer of stakeholders buy cars to attach to the cab services while offering salaries to drivers and altering the partner driver arrangement companies program. Similarly, Mukul here works on effective labor or emotional labor performed by cab drivers as well as other work aspects in Bangalore. My work borrows from these scholars and builds on these ideas where I'm talking about two very specific features of precarity: algorithmic uncertainty and safety. The lack of transparency around algorithmic structures not only prohibits drivers from knowing completely about this work, they also build tactics of coping and earning from a place of unknown. Now, when algorithms act as regulator of work, their inherent structure does not let drivers know fully about work. Thus, unknowing has two aspects. First, drivers do not have the access or means to gather this information. Secondly, one cannot even be sure if this information exists in the first place. There were three things that I asked drivers, most of which led to ambiguous and inconsistent replies. First, how rides were allocated. Second, how fares were determined. And third, how ratings work. While some drivers told me upfront they did not know how this worked, others offered explanations that they had either devised or had heard from somewhere else. The call to find out the drop destination, two conversations during the trip to gauge potential earnings before finally suggesting unknowable systems as a worker. Persistent humor at this point was that Reliance is going to come up with a competitor ride-hailing app, and drivers thought maybe there'll be new range of incentives again. In online Facebook groups, drivers often compare themselves to the CEO's salaries. I interpret these practices of making sense of long and short-term work framed as responses to constant ambiguity and uncertainty as the development of an algorithmic gut. This gut responds to anxieties produced by platform infrastructure through a keen awareness of the shifts, the tweaks, the changes, and the errors. It orients drivers how they approach and cope with their work by acknowledging that there is a lot unknown and unknowable in this kind of work. This ambiguity is also linked to driver safety, as the algorithmic determination of matching an unknown user with an unknown driver comes with an implicit social contract of maintaining trust and creating safety for each other. The fragility of this bond comes to fore each time drivers describe a bad experience for the user, while constantly reiterating how some drivers too could act like bad apples in a basket. Especially in the context of the 2012 Uber rape in Delhi, where conversations around women's safety were specifically linked to drivers' behavior in ride-hailing apps. In this case, then, drivers are not just battling the image of being enablers of violence against women, they also do not have the opportunity to lead conversations about their own safety. In February 2019, a cab driver was brutally murdered in the night, and many drivers expected it to hog headlines for weeks. But that didn't happen. Many drivers think about saying they carried a weapon, some said we don't drive. Some said we refuse drunk passengers no matter what threats they give. Even worse, according to drivers, were fraud customers who just took rides and did not pay. Just at this point, when I first started talking about this, I would ask drivers what, according to you, is an ideal customer. And this conversation in the first 5 interviews automatically went to customers who would just pay. And I said, isn't that obvious? Like customers are supposed to pay. And that's when so many drivers told me that on an average, bill mein ek ride kharab ho jata hai because there are flawed people who will just take a ride and disappear. Now, in this case, many drivers said they were mentally prepared for this. And as long as they said that jaan bach jaye, paisa nahi mile, it's fine. This choice between drive safety is not one that drivers should ideally make, but are compelled to do so in the absence of what they call lack of company support. In the words of drivers, hamara koi nahi. This sense of lack of ownership conflicts again with the term driver partner. Again, this brings us to the idea of coping strategies. Lack of information means that drivers are making their own strategies without thinking long term and focusing very specifically on the short term goal of making money. But the question in our research we asked is at what cost? Thank you.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? My name is Anushri, and if you can't hear me, please let me know and stand up and we talk. Okay. So I started working on this project when I was doing my masters, and I had been living in Mumbai for about almost a year till then, and I was really curious about the city and just generally cities and how these app-based work, how app-based work was generally permeating the fabrics of the city. And I come from an engineering background, so I am kind of interested in questions of technology and how they change society. So that was the kind of interest that I came in with to this project. And I particularly, the questions that I wanted to sort of answer was to understand how, an algorithmically mediated or governed sort of work structure make it, there were a lot of reports that I was reading at that point of time about strikes in Mumbai. And that was a huge deal because most of the people I knew used cabs, and I myself used cabs, and it was becoming like sorry, I'll try to speak louder. Yeah, so that was a sort of an inconvenience for most of the privileged folks that I knew. Sorry. So that the lens that I was also trying to understand how does that develop. And there's also a lot of talk about this convenience economy, which has been in place now because of these apps. And what we often not see is the people who actually keep these economies running. And that was what I wanted to kind of uncover. And now I know that that's kind of naive because these people are they're not like they don't have voices. They are also talking about these things. And as Simran rightly mentioned, one of the biggest discoveries while just right at the outset of starting this project was also that there are so many Facebook groups, Telegram groups, and WhatsApp groups where these people are extremely active and they're talking about the things that matter to them. And a quick comment on method, I'll reverse the pattern and just say that up front. What is interesting to see in these groups is that there are people communicate through audio notes. This is this was something that I wasn't aware of, and it was a huge sort of an eye-opening sort of a thing for me because I was looking for data in other forms, and I wasn't prepared for listening to audio notes which involve calls to customer care. For about an hour and a half, where a driver is just, he starts off with talking about mundane things like how do I get my fare, how do I try to receive the cancellation fee, all of these things, and then he just goes on into a rant. And that was, I think, one of the most life-changing moments for me in this project, because here is this man who is a middle-aged man who is trying to run his family. He's living in Mumbai, which is one of the most crowded metropolitan cities in the world. And he is trying to run his household. He's the only breadwinner. And he is reduced to a state where he is crying on the phone while he's talking to a customer care person who is not answering any of his questions with any substantial solutions. So, that was one of the most disturbing, also insightful things that I found out about. yeah, just like when I was thinking about what I should actually be studying in the beginning when I was trying to hash out my questions and everything, I was also very interested in trying to see what's the business ecosystem like. Like that was kind of the buzzword that I had in my head, that what's the how are these businesses made, because these are startups, and startups are the, you know, they're the I don't know what they are, but they are something which everyone should, you know, like be conscious about. So yeah, that was also something that I wanted to find out about. So like initially, I was talking to a bunch of people, and I found out about this one company called Choti Cab, and a bunch of these companies which were coming up, which were driver owned and driver led, and I had this idea that, you know, okay, this could be like really interesting. But by the end of the study and through several conversations amongst us and with Nupur, um, that angle kind of you know, it evolved into something else. I don't want to use the word evolved as such, but it just changed into something else, which is something that I will talk about which was one of my major findings, as I like to think. Um, yeah. So another small comment
Excuse me,
about.
sorry, people in the back can listen to me, no problem.
Okay, sorry. Another small comment about the method would also be that I think I was very, very aware of the fact that I was dressing up a certain way, and I looked a certain way when I got into the cab, or when I, you know, just walked into someone's office, and that I think was very important in the way that they were answering or they were telling me things. So, like one sort of a future lesson to myself and to anyone else also who is trying to know more about this is to maybe watch out for these things and see what they are telling you and why they are telling you, and also like try to make them more comfortable, because I feel like this sort of worked when even when in go-alongs, you know, if you just talk to them about their family, they would open up more, or if you just talk to them about something else that they were more interested in, say for example, why they prefer Uber over Ola. So like something as small as that would open them up, and even like other businesses that they tried. Like one of my respondents was a very avid YouTuber, so I would generally ask him questions about that, and he would just like tell me things about working on the platform while talking about these things. And he used to make videos for other drivers also, so that was also one nice finding which I would just spark. So yeah, amongst like the two major things that I want to talk about, one is the this character of the fleet owner, which a lot of people, like Sarah also mentioned, there has been work done on this, that there is an intermediary in platform economies, which platforms haven't managed to do away with as they've promised. But what is interesting is that this character is both an aspiration as well as a victim. Like, so I spoke to a range of people. Like they were not just drivers. I spoke to fleet owners, driver partners, owners, people who were driving but did not own a car. So there's a mix of these sorts of people, right? So what is interesting is that people who drive for someone else, like almost everyone drives for someone else, but people who drive for someone else will aspire to become this person and blame the platform, saying that the platform doesn't, like that's career progression for them in some senses. But they will, you know, kind of hold the platform accountable that there's no possibility for us to do this, that this should have been our career path if we decided to join this line of work, that we should have been able to own like multiple cars and, you know, earn more from them. But when you actually talk to someone who does this exact thing, he is equally miserable. He is talking about things like, you know, you tell me. One of my respondents actually, you know, put me in a spot, and he's like, you tell me, how do I actually talk to these companies when they don't even entertain any of my queries, when I'm not even like earning half of the amount that I was earning at the beginning, when I, you know, put so much faith in these companies to join, to put so many cars. I had 15 cars attached to the platform. So I mean, this kind of a contrast like was sort of interesting for me to see. And also another interesting characteristic of this middleman or the fleet owner is the fact that while they act as middlemen, they are not like they're both in service of the platform as well as the workers who are working under them. So they will provide like surveillance. Like they will surveil the drivers. Like there were people who told me that they put cameras in their cars and without telling the drivers who were driving them. And on the other hand, they were also very vocal about the fact that we provide them the minimum wage. Without us, they would not survive, especially during the strikes, which I will also talk about in a little bit in detail. Like they were very, very conscious about the fact that if the drivers go out, not only because the cars would get damaged, but also because the drivers would get hurt. So they were very careful, and they would advise their drivers to not take out the cars during the strikes, otherwise they would get hurt. So functions like these, like they were the benevolent sort of a figure in the drivers' lives. Yeah, and about the strikes, there's only one thing that, like there's one very particular instance that stood out in my head during the entire course of my fieldwork. There was this one driver who told me that he had to change his diet because of the strikes. So while on the one hand we think that unionization is important and unionization should help, does help, that's one conversation. The other conversation is also kind of the ground reality, where we also have to look at the kind of impact that it has on the lives of the people. These people live on a daily wage. They don't have any other sources of income. Most of them told me that they have no other marketable skills as such, and they have to rely on this. So if during the strikes, most of them told me that they had to drive if they had to earn something. Otherwise, they would wouldn't have any money or any source of income in those times. And yeah, this is just to say that like the level of precarity is this high that even during a strike, the drivers cannot show solidarity, so to speak. Yeah, I think that's about it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'll try and respond with a bunch of comments and observations as somebody who was kind of always in conversation with everyone who was doing the field work. And just a bit of background on my own research and why I came to be interested in doing this project. So first of all, of course, I want to thank the Azim Premji University Research Grants Program for recognizing that digital labor as a phenomenon is important and needs to be studied, as well as the Center for Internet Society, again, which I've been associated for over a decade and remains one of those places where you can ask very cutting-edge questions about technology and society, so I'm very grateful for that. And just a little bit of autobiographical sort of motivation is that as a PhD researcher, I kind of fell into studying platform economies, and my first paper was actually about Uber drivers and Lyft drivers in the US. And it was a very interesting question or whatever that I didn't realize that I was responding to my own situation, which was that if you think public transport in India is kind of bad, then California is like 10 times worse. And so I suddenly found myself also as an Indian person who basically would never take a taxi, right? Because taxis are seen as typically luxurious, unless you are in Mumbai where it's slightly more affordable. And I'd gone to a place where basically my only way to convenient transport then was taxi, or I would board a bus which would take about an hour to get me to a destination that was 10 kilometers away. And so Uber had just kind of started operating in this region, and it became this venture capitalist subsidized way to travel around cheaply. And as you all might have done, I also started getting in conversations with Uber drivers and saying, what is it that you do and why is it that you do, and so on and so forth. All of that led to like a US-wide study, and it was all very interesting and great. And then, of course, my obvious question was that, but it's also taking off in India, and like that's where I've lived all my life, and so how is it all of this panning out? And that's something that I've been doing since 2016, looking at Uber and Ola and how they work mostly in Bangalore. And as I kind of started studying these things, I also realized that there wasn't quite a community for me to go back to, which like typically most academics have in a field, in a relatively well-established field, so that I could go back to somebody and say, hey, how do I talk about this thing that I just saw in the field, or how do I understand these things, and so on and so forth. And in that sense, digital labor, even as a moniker, is very new. So I kept to it. I stayed with the idea that there needs to be more conversation about this. And there's of course no way that a single person can even study the entirety of India or like do justice to even one city where I haven't, I'm not even from here in that sense, but I've come to live here. So that kind of inspired conversations, and we thought that we'd apply for a grant. And the reason why I'm so grateful again is because, again, as someone who straddles the US and an Indian academy, there's always that lag, right? There's always cutting edge technology and innovations that happen somewhere else, mostly the US, and then get studied somewhere else, again the US and Europe. And then eventually someone will have a developmental lens on these things and say, how about the poor and underserved people in India? Let's go and study this there now. And that's important research as well. I'm not discrediting it. I'm just saying that I kind of wanted to short circuit this lag. I wasn't quite ready to kind of wait for that moment when this was going to happen. And luckily enough, APU saw merit in the fact, and we're very grateful. So in that sense, we're also part of a moment where we're having these conversations, almost where we've not really, or we've checked ourselves time and again, where we've not gone into some of the more economistic aspects of saying like, so there, we're also, I guess, grateful and acknowledging the work of a lot of people who've been in real time reporting the difficulties of ride-hailing drivers as well as food delivery workers who truly sort of struggle to make ends meet today. But there's also sort of, as researchers, there's a cycle to this kind of research, and we're not journalists for a good reason. So having stayed with this topic for about 2.5, 3 years, I've seen it take off. I've seen it peak. I've seen people actually talk about this work as good work, as being happy in this work, as better forms of work than something else that they were doing, and now something else. So that's kind of the cycle where we're at. Now quickly responding to what my colleagues were saying here. Sorry. Yeah, the other thing that I want to remark is also that while ride-hailing kind of responds to some of traditional forms of work like taxi driving and taxi hailing, food delivery in that sense has been quite a challenge to study and understand because it doesn't quite have precedents. And in that sense, I'll come to the legal gray zones in a bit, but it was also quite interesting to them, like, come against language and be like, what about this? What about contracts? What about work hours? And also to go back to companies and say, how are you doing this? And often sort of company representatives would go off record and say, like even we're figuring this out. And so it's a very interesting space in that sense, but also quite frustrating. So that was also the other interesting thing which I said I would come back to is the choice of cities and the decision to study Mumbai and Delhi versus kind of do the obvious thing, which is to study Bangalore. A lot of those were shaped definitely by more pragmatic concerns. So we kind of kept the question open and going that, should we study this city? Should we study that city? Should we do a comparative study of a tier 2 city and a tier 1 city and so on? And there were some like logistical decisions as well in place. But I, at least personally, and I'm not sure if someone will agree, but I felt like there's a problem with doing a lot of research and tech research in Bangalore or about Bangalore because technology is also sort of overdetermined in the space. And in that sense, experiences may not even be representative, but there's also a certain way to talk about technology in Bangalore, which in itself deserves to be studied. But we wanted to kind of take off two cities which also have their own rich labor histories and labor movements. And in that sense, we wanted to see how people articulate the question of rights, wages, and so on. Yeah. There's also, I think I've mentioned this before, but as they all spoke about social reproduction, and there's also a blog post series that we're doing on the side. The blog is called Castac, C-A-S-T-A-C, and there are 2 blog posts that are out. And personally, my commitment has been, but also my colleagues have kind of gone with it, is that we consciously wanted to move away from what dominates the conversations about the gig economy, which is questions of fair payment, fairness in work, minimum wages, contracts, and so on and so forth. It's not that we don't think they are important and should not be studied, but it's just that we were not able to find a language to be able to attend to, say, for example, kinship networks. So how does a thing like platform economy and doing food delivery stuff from a neighborhood, map onto people who've been friends or who hail from certain neighborhoods. And then taking sort of that language far enough to say then, like neighborhoods also in themselves are not innocuous forms, but they are compositions of religion, caste, etc., communities. And so how are these communities being plugged into this kind of work is something that Simran's blog post, for example, has looked at. The second one that just came out, which is Sarah's work, and she just spoke about the algorithmic gut stuff, which is interesting because, so as Sarah has put in her blog post, drivers operate or build knowledge from a place of unknowing. So it's like a pedagogy, it's a form of developing knowledge, knowing that you may never know enough. And it's a very interesting, weird, cruel place sometimes because we don't often question our own work structures and systems where knowing or demanding, having the right to know as an employee is a given, is taken for granted in most formal work things. And then kind of like she said, drivers' range of responses from being fatalistic and saying, whatever, it happens, I don't care, to using humor, but also having a certain kind of disinterest in engaging all of us researchers whenever we were asking some of these sort of uppity questions of like, what about your future? What about your rights? Whatever. And we grappled with it quite a bit. So that was also an interesting thing to arrive at, like how does all this kind of yeah, there's a last term that I want to touch upon, which is kind of the future of work within which a project like this falls, and a certain techno-utopianism or something that we don't want to leave by the wayside, which would be a disservice to drivers, workers of all kinds, because it's important to kind of remember. So there are two things here. One is the future of work bit, which is that all the fellows and in my own work, we all came across interesting articulations of futurity while talking to respondents. So what we would ask them is, what next? What are you going to do after this? How long will you keep doing this work, etc., etc. And we also did a survey and we put results out later on. And what's interesting is people had a range of responses. A lot of people would say, I don't know. I just don't know what's next. I'll keep doing till I can do this work. Some people would say, I'll keep doing this until I find something better. And some people had absolute concrete articulations like, I'm doing this work right now because I am saving up for a business, or I'm saving up for something else, or whatever. And without sort of going on and on about it, I want to stay with just that I don't know part of that futurity, which to me at least is a thing about the drivers, like Anushri was saying, drivers telling you something. When somebody says, I don't know, for a long time we felt like we were hitting a wall. Like, how can you possibly not know what you want to do next? Or how can you not have ideas, aspirations, dreams, something of what you want to do? And I think, at least my conclusion, and maybe some people agree, is that a lot of gig economy work infuses a certain kind of temporality of a daily wage labor, which has implications for people's time. So things again that we take for granted as high tech or formalized workers is a certain kind of luxury of saying when my work stops or when I'm going to have a leisure time and when I'm going to start thinking about my future. Those considerations require time. They require sitting down. They require being relaxed, and so on and so forth. And I think that's something that especially food delivery workers just had no time for. And that other thing of sort of tech utopianism is like Anushri said, if you go onto some of these drivers groups, they're constantly discussing Bhavish Agarwal's salary, like on and on and on. And these will be memes, these will be videos. Some of them after the Uber IPO started discussing how much Uber early investors have made off the IPO. And then, like someone said, they compared their own salaries. And a lot of it is kind of always in the register of humor because, well, what can you do about it? But what was interesting is that even when you challenge people and kind of be like, hey, isn't this work unfair? This is terrible work. You shouldn't be doing it. Or that somebody else is making more money. while you do the manual labor. So what do you think about it? And sort of also to tie it up finally with a lot of people making efforts and starting their own apps, which is also something that like we couldn't wrap our heads around for a long time. Like, what is this desire to start your own thing? And it varies. Like a lot of people are just interested in getting people to sign on to their apps and make money out of that and so on. Or a lot of people are genuinely just trying to find a way out of the system. And the way we think about it, I think, is that then you don't want to look at gig economy workers in India as certain deficient, poor, underserved individuals, but in fact as people who have like really high aspirations. And whether their material conditions meet that or not is a separate question. But even in terms of the shift from precarity to aspirations, the needle moves like absolutely 180 degrees. So on days when there's good work, when days you're earning, people want to earn, or they think that a decent salary to make in a month could be as high as 60 to 80,000. And at least I would often like tap them on the shoulder and remind them and say, but you know, even engineering undergrads don't earn that much in a starting job in India. So like, what's going on here? And on days when they would be on strike or wouldn't be working, it would go to something as precarious as not eating meat because you can't afford it. And there's like a very strange sort of dichotomy, but also volatility to this process. Yeah, so I'll just kind of wrap it up quickly and just tell you like our future dreams, hopes, and goals is that this is truly just a beginning, but hopefully a good beginning. And the reason why we wanted to do this event is kind of also to find collaborators, find other people, because at least one of the things we haven't been successfully been able to do is engage with sociologists of work in India, or anyone who's been traditionally studying forms of work, as well as lawyers who can actually help us, for example, read contracts or help understand what is the status of independent contractors in India, because a lot of these references only come from the UK and US legislation and so on, conversations around it. So that would definitely be something that we want to do more, and we hope to convene a community around this. And the second, of course, also would be that we want to be in conversation with urban studies, critical geography, all kinds of disciplines that touch upon what these platforms are doing to rework people's access to a city and to urban spaces. Your right to earn in a place, being priced out of the city because you can't afford certain services, whose time and convenience is prioritized in this whole process. All of those questions matter, so we definitely want to take them up. And yeah, I guess we can. And sorry. We're not ending. I'm ending. The floor is open for questions to everyone. Yeah, you just have to be really loud.
Yeah, sure. Can everyone hear me?
Or I can repeat your questions.
Okay, so I just had a question / suggestion / request. Like Simran said, she studied workers who were delivering food on using both technology as well as the non-technology side, like the Udupi delivery boy you mentioned. I think a good study subject would also be the Mumbai Dabbawala, and like also the thing to get precedence, right? You said that for taxis there is a precedence in Mumbai, but even for food delivery, you could use them as a precedence, and it would be interesting to see how they think of themselves as workers, because traditionally in Mumbai there has been this sense of pride and social status of the Dabbawala as someone who delivers a very efficient service. I don't know how they think of it because they're not certainly economically affluent people, but it's something that should be considered.
So I hope you all are taking questions, we collect them and then we can answer them.
Okay, so I had one. I had one question to all four of you, which is about the nature of, what we think about when we think of digital labor, which is and I think all of you spoke about the relationship between the company and the mean, the company aggregator, whatever, and the individuals doing the work. I was curious about the other half of it, which is the customer, right? The relationship between the customer and the service provider in what is already a very, in a service industry that is already very unequal, right? Where that relationship is essentially mediated by one of class and to some extent caste and gender as well. And where there is a substantial difference between the service provider and the ultimate customer. The ability of the customer to control a lot of this relationship through that app, right? Which manifests itself, I think, in this phrase that all of us come across, which is rating Kodi sir. Right? Give me a rating. What does it do to that relationship between these people who are sort of doing this with their dreams and their aspirations, but are finding themselves sort of tightly surveilled by the company on one side, and also being very tightly controlled by the customer on the other side, right? So does the digitalization of this platform increase that inequality, increase that that power dynamic in the relationship between them and the people that they're supposed to be serving or working?
Could you tell me their name?
My name is Manish.
We have a person right at the back. She raised her hand first. Yeah. I just need to add something to what you just said. Could you also, if you don't mind, tell your name and then your name is so you mentioned something about dichotomy between somebody who could potentially earn somewhere between 60 to 80,000 and could barely, have like a square meal on bad day. And I was thinking that maybe we could problematize that a little more. If we need to shift from like traditional understanding of capitalism, etc. And if you think about this, I think we need to problematize the idea of choice, because some of you also sort of mentioned something about how there is a choice of you can log off whenever you want. But would you? Because there is always that potential of if you work a few more hours, you take home a little more money, right? So maybe we need to demystify that idea of choice, because then you want to make of your own fate. You could jolly well log off after working for like 5 hours, or you could put in like 18 hours. I think that is where, because the idea of choice and agencies come in, I think that is where the companies are getting away with flexible contracts, etc. Because, why didn't you log off earlier? If you thought that that was being injurious to your mental health, etc. So I feel like if we could just like demystify the idea of choice here, absolutely. And I have one more question for Sundaram, because I was wondering, because you mentioned something about non-delivery personnel, and I was wondering how we were gaining access, because they are further individualized. Because I don't know how I'm going to readily go into the field and have access to, say, a cloud kitchen chef or somebody who's an auditor. I understand the auditor, they're switching roles every 2-3 months, but when you are catching them in the field, they are delivery boys, as you said, right? So when they are currently holding the position of an auditor, where are you going to gain access to these people or cloud kitchen chef? The person ahead, yeah.
So I'm Vinny. I also, from my bachelor's and to my master's, my topic of research has been working on the platform. So just a few things that I picked up that which might be interesting and something which you might have covered anyway, is within work on in the platform economy, specifically within the drivers. What I picked up on and is something that I've written about as well is different types of drivers. For example, the state of EMI drivers is oftentimes slightly worse off than drivers who work under field operators. They get a fixed wage at the end of the month, whereas the EMI driver is almost bonded to the company because of the EMI. And this same, for example, within this community, measures also in terms of old drivers and new drivers. And it's a measure which generally plays a different strikes. Because newer drivers haven't built up a capital base enough for them to actually come out on strike, and hence there is a particular anger that they have towards older drivers who have the luxury of striking person. And finally, the outsider insider one, because as the platform picks up in tier 1 cities, you see a huge inflow of drivers who have come in from outside. And there have been, I mean, at least in my studies, there's something picked up on is an insider outsider sort of rivalry that takes place between drivers who identify outsiders as the reason that there's a supply glut in the market and their wages are being suppressed. So if we could perhaps have this
Then the person ahead. Yeah.
My question was whether, and it's open to the panel, whether you have any insights on the collectivization practices, and how they navigated like both the legal and the social landscape in an informal economy world, particularly in the context of the strikes that have been going on in the past 2 years. So whether any of the research tasks upon that and if you have any
Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of, I think, move a little away from the conversation, but still very relevant. So I work a lot on workplace mental health, and I was trying to figure out through these conversations because the workplace in itself seems very invisible. It's very oppressive. It's very out there, and it seems almost like a big man. And in that case, what happens and to the mental health of these drivers? One, obviously, there are so many factors that are coming into the picture: lack of sleep, lack of family, staying in extremely cramped up spaces, especially in a city like Bombay, where I've heard stories of people, drivers who come to Bombay, who are staying almost 5 to 6 in that tiny little house. So I'm just trying to understand what happens and if there is high aspirations of building an app, etc. How is that kind of matching with the mental health aspirations of these people as well? So yeah.
We need one more question, then we'll answer if we have more time.
Sorry, I have a bunch of questions actually. I wanted to start with you mentioned that you also spoke to.
You also mentioned
Ira. Hi, I'm Ira. You also said you spoke to security guards. I was wondering like how that plays into the whole structural data variance that's come up around workers on digital platforms. So you have like algorithmic surveillance that's happening on the platform itself, but what's happening with like gated communities. Because I think there are apps that have come up specifically for gated communities who let enter these external elements, right? Whether it's maids or delivery boys or whatever. So what were your findings on that? That is one question. You spoke about consumer and driver relationship and how the rating structure plays into that. I think that's an interesting conversation because Uber does have an option for drivers to rate, which is basically symbolic and it doesn't technically translate into anything in India. But recently, I think about a month ago, Uber declared that in the US they're going to start actually throwing out customers whose ratings fall below a certain whatever. So what does that do to driver's sense of agency versus like actual realization? Because when we spoke to drivers, some of them were happy that it existed, and a lot of them were like, yeah, it doesn't really make a difference. But it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to be able to say something to, whatever, shitty customer. A question generally to the panel, was there any like difference in reaction when you spoke to workers who worked on native Indian apps as opposed to transnational apps? Does that play into like their experience, whether it's with customer relations or generally like working in a country like India? And finally, in the context of like the socio-political context of a place like India, with what's happening with the labor market and the history, given the informality that has persisted in India, how in that context and what's happening right now, right? Like with the labor code and the other laws that are going to come up and that are basically making precarity and informality a norm in a very legal sense. Even though India has always been an informal economy, now it's being legalized in a lot of ways. So how do these apps kind of like, where do they play in and how do like you spoke about perceptions of like future and aspiration? So how does that, how would you imagine or how do you engage with that in any sense? And also things like techno-nationalistic streaks, like what happened with demonetization. So like the whole digital context of a country like India, like and where we are trying to go with the digital India narrative, how does that play into the at digital labor markets?
So I'll let people answer. Just two quick sort of caveats to this, which actually tie in sort of with the possibilities and limited possibilities of even studying digital labor at large, but especially in India, is that all of us have had relatively like no cooperation from companies, platform companies, and it's a tricky one. And credit where it's due in the sense that Uber was having conversations with us to some extent, but say a company like Ola is sort of known to not engage with anybody, and this is just important to kind of flag because there's very limited work that you can do without a lot of the data visibility, transparency and understanding. And in that sense, the pedagogy of not knowing kind of also comes over to the researcher because often we would be playing a guessing game, like we all almost do. And I've done this for 3 years now, which is whenever I would give a presentation on Ola, Uber, whatever, somebody in the crowd would stand up and say, yeah, but in Bombay this happened. In some other city this doesn't happen. And they're all right. I think the larger point, I would get irritated obviously, but I think the larger point here to be made and stayed with is that this isn't an accident. This is in itself the same algorithmic particularities and isolation that companies thrive on. They do want us, and sorry, I'm hogging the conversation here and I'll give the floor in a minute. But it kind of goes back to also the question of collectivities, which then are based on collective experiences to a large extent. And platforms by design try to make this impossible. So that's one thing to flag, and also kind of to have a conversation around is that if we are to be able to do meaningful research, especially quantitative research or legal research, how would we go about finding sources or data or information? And I don't entirely blame companies because we're also dealing with a beast that is like hyper-capitalist, late capitalist, and so on, in the sense that these aren't just wars about getting users, but also wars of intellectual property. So the common answer I would get from people is, I'd love to tell you all of this. I'd love to tell you why we're pushing customers to eat biryani. But if I told you that, it would be a trade secret, and I can't tell you that. So it's just something I wanted to flag, and kind of that brings things in perspective, because a lot of meta questions you asked, we would love to answer them and so on, but it's kind of this impossibility that we don't know how to navigate. So I'll leave it at that and come back. Yeah. Rajendra, do you want to start?
Okay, so in response to the question by Manish about the location of the customer in this, what do we call it, on this canvas, no? So there are major 4 stakeholders. One is a customer, the restaurant, delivery worker, and this aggregated company. So when I talk with the restaurant owners, they say that companies are very keen to provide the services to the customer. They say customer king here. Even if we provide a good food and customer complaint about that, the company take the action and suspended the restaurant for 3 days or for a week. So customer is very important. When I talk to the workers about the role of the customer, the whole system is actually controlled by the company, but the customer is everywhere. Customer can rate the worker, customer can rate the food. Means everyone is, even customer can call and talk to the restaurant and call and talk to the company also. So when I talk with the workers about this customers relationship with them, they say कि कस्टमर कंपनी के लिए बहुत जरूरी है. अगर एक डिलीवरी वर्कर जाएगा तो उनको 100 मिल जाएंगे, लेकिन they don't want to lose the customer. So the role of the customer for company, for restaurant, everyone is very, very concerned. And now what happened in Delhi, I don't know about the Bangalore and Mumbai, but in February, they cut down their per delivery rate from 40 rupees to 30 rupees. And when they protested, then they didn't do anything. But what they said, you will get 40, but you will have to get the 5-star from the customer. So then the worker asked me the question. They asked me during the interview, what should we do for to getting the 5-star? Because number of customers didn't rate us. Simply they leaving and don't want to rate. If we didn't get rated, means we didn't get that 10 rupees. 1 second. When customer rated us below 3-star, there is a no justification. Why are you rating below 3-star? What is bad with you? What is happening with you? Why are you rating 3-star? So there is a no space. Customer can do anything. He can rate 1 star or 2-star. But there is no space to the worker or no space. Even I rated 1 star or 2-star to the food, there is no space to ask to the restaurant, okay, why I am rating 2-star. So for them, customer is a king, and everything is around the customer. All the people, restaurant owner, worker, and company, everything is like providing service to the customer only, and there is no mechanism for listen to the others. I think I try to in for the respond to the question to Ida. I try to talk to security. I talk with them, but it's nothing directly come regarding the food delivery workers. It's everything about the what are the delivery, because delivery workers are now very common in at least in the cities and in the metros. Because I have seen from 6 a.m. you can find the people big basket, Flipkart, XYZ food delivery workers are there. So they are instructed by the security, means by the societies, and there are different rules. Because for some of the societies where I stay, Mahadev apartment, you just enter your name, phone number, and you can go. But for Vedanta, which is a little high profile, upper middle class society, the security guard take the people to the customer's home, and unless and until the customer say told to security guard you can go, they stay there, and even they come out with this delivery worker. So there are some systems which I got from that security guards. But now normally because the food or whatever is ordered by the residents of that colony, because and it makes them allowed or make them authorized to enter or to reach to their doorstep. Thank you.
So I'll start with Anmol's question. So I kept out Dabbawalas this pretty widely because they deliver home cooked meals. So they're not, yeah. So yeah, this is better. Sorry. So they deliver home cooked meals. So Dabbawalas take food from your house to your office or wherever else. So I felt like that wasn't comparable to a restaurant delivery. But that's something I've explored in another paper where I've compared Khanavars, which is a women in Bombay, Maharashtra actually, urban Maharashtra, have boarding houses. So they cook at home and workers come eat in their house and leave. So that is a comparable sort of stand. But for this, I've only looked at would be delivery boys and fast food companies and all of that, and that's also another set of people. So that's why I didn't look at Dabbawalas, because I think it's a different service. And there's a different morality in that service, where the food is pure, it's from your house, it's adhering to all the gender, caste norms that you would like it to be. But this is outside food, which the apps look at, so that's a separate area. So that was one. The second question, Manisha's question, I have 3 things to say. One is that I noticed that a lot of workers have this aspirational idea of a customer. जब मैं customer बनूंगा, मैं ऐसे नहीं करूंगा. So there's that. Also, there's the recognition of the unequal relationship there. And another thing is that the company keeps claiming that tough on customers, like everyone pointed out, by saying that the customer's rating matters, etc., etc. But I mean, the workers' rating to the customer matters. But workers call out that quite like openly. So, for instance, really quickly, recently there was the IPL, and what one of the companies did was increase the area. So they have this thing, you only have to write in 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers per free-side area. So for IPL, they increased that area, and so workers protested, and they said, listen, if we are also important and not just customers, then why are you increasing our areas? And because there's traffic in Bombay, you never will make the kind of money that you do. Right. So that was the second thing to say that workers aren't buying the equal relationship here kind of claim that exists. The third, workers aren't buying, as people I spoke to aren't buying. And then the third thing is that One thing is interesting though in this unequal relationship thing is that in food delivery, work or maybe even ride hailing, is that workers now have access to really famous people by chance, of course. So, for instance, you get to deliver food to a Taapsee Pannu, and they make no, and this is not just like a fan moment, but people like use that moment. They take that 30 seconds and get an ally in some very flouncy fashion. But for instance, I encourage everyone to please look at Ijaz Khan and like he is a true advocate for food delivery workers in Bombay. And I'm sure this can be read critically, gaining his own sense of whatever, following out of it, but it still says something. You can go to the doorstep of someone you never had access to earlier. That in itself is mental. And in India, we know how difficult it is. So that was the third thing about the unequal relationship between. I think it's a really interesting line to pursue. So that's that. Anisha, I think, had asked about how I gained access to non-delivery workers who are app-based workers. So just to clarify, the auditors aren't food delivery workers. They do other kinds of back-end stuff. Food delivery work is seen as menial-ish to the auditor, who is typically more educated English-speaking types. Yeah, so that was that, and I gained access to these people simply by hanging out and being extremely nosy. So if I saw someone, I'd just be like, "Hi, would you like to talk?" Or like I would just ask upfront. And over the course of time, I also befriended some restaurant owners or like people who work as slightly like the line manager in a restaurant. So I'd be like, "Hey, do you know anyone?" And it's also interesting that the cloud kitchen is also like, in some ways, maybe I'm just drawing a premature parallel, but I'm going to do it now. Is the intermediary in the cabs, how that's an aspiration. Similarly, for food delivery workers, being a cloud kitchen owner is some sort of an aspiration. Like a lot of people think that it's very doable. They know exactly what has to be done. They're like, ये document चाहिए, इतना पैसा चाहिए, 2 साल में कर सकते. So it is something that you can see a future. And I met one person who actually has a cloud kitchen as well. So access to cloud kitchens also is not that tough if you need delivery workers, because people know people. And food, and also because we have to wait so long for orders, right? So people make friends. So now I ask them, do you know anyone who works there? So they know. So that's probably how that happened. Yeah, and even team leaders can help gain access to more like managerial positions. I suppose like team leader will put you in touch with the fleet manager, things like that. Then the question about the insight on collectivization. I had 2 things to say about it. One was in food delivery in Bombay. There is a lot of trust on nativist parties like the MNS Shiv Sena to sort of help organize, because they do have sway over the local whether it's the DMC or the police. They have connections, so people see that that's a way of getting work done. So there's a lot of faith in nativist parties organizing and representing workers. And I don't see very many progressive parties coming in and trying to even talk or anything. So that's that. Second point about collectivization was the question of like workers recognize reputation as a very important thing, I think, in this line of work. So some workers said that there's a back road in Andheri Lokhandwala, which is like a place where people usually go to make out or dump dead bodies. So there's very
That's the range. That's the range.
So that's where workers would protest. So
This is that Swami Samarwala road. This is that Swami Samarwala road that goes towards the swamp.
yeah, no.
I know exactly that road. Okay.
Not feeling the whole
It may or may not.
No, it's true. There are dead bodies.
So my point to overdramatize, I really need to say is that workers recognize that they are very visible protesting. It harms the company's image and it harms their chances in the company, which for them at the moment is something they don't want to put under, like everyone else said. It's they're sole breadwinners often, and they're very whatever. We know that story. So reputation and visibility is very dicey. So they will protest not to register visually the protest, but to register their protest. So like if we don't work from Andheri, which is where a lot of orders come from, because there's a lot of struggling actors, these are words of workers, So they know कि यहाँ से company को it'll hurt the company. So we try to hurt the company with the protest rather than register the protest as a visual protest. So that's the thing. That's one of the ways that I could quickly talk about. So that's that. I'll try to be as bigger, but about mental health, and I don't know if this is at all relevant, but I can think of three things. One was there's a lot of shame. It's not seen as work that is like, oh, you just pick up and go. People are hiding the shirt, like women, there's a woman who's taking the dupatta and hid herself. Like people are traveling. If you live in Kurla, you will go to Bandra to deliver food. So you don't want to be seen as a delivery worker. That branding is a burden. So I'm sure that's something maybe that could, Then there's a veg non-veg thing, man. Like I met a Jain woman who was a delivery worker. So I was very curious. I was like, but you're Jain. So then she, there was a lot of interesting stuff that came up from there as well. And she took photos of the packaging to tell her family that it's okay to do it. So there's a lot of, it's not so easy to even start off in this work. Then there's it's also slightly different for women because while this work may be burdensome, etc., for women, they are also seeing it as something that's very freeing. Like this woman who's worked for so long, and I'm not saying it, romanticizing it, because I know they're working at home, they're working outside, and all of that's true. But I'm just saying that, so for instance, there was one case where this lady was a home-based worker for 10-15 years, but she said, I have never worked before this, मैंने काम ही नहीं किया है. So going out of the house and working is now possible because of this, and people, like the few women I met, seem to be appreciating that ability to go out and work as a pretty big deal. So there's it's not the same for women. There is shame and they will do all of this, but it's also some kind of moment of confidence is the word that is used a lot. Like मुझे confidence बहुत आ गया. अब तो मैं इधर उधर देख के बिना भी चला सकती हूँ. हाथ छोड़ के भी चला सकती हूँ. This that kind of stuff happening, which is I think pretty crazy. So that's that. And then last bit, I think I wanted to talk about the international versus local apps. So one thing I noticed was the structure of the ways in which the company interacts with the workers are very different. So in Uber Eats, there is no system of a hub, which is what Swiggy has, wherein workers can go and complain and talk and things. There's an actually existing brick and mortar space where they can go. In Zomato, you have a team leader. There's no brick and mortar space, but the team leader is someone you can contact. So workers knew that Uber Eats international है, तो उनका ये सब नहीं है. But it's also interesting, they were like, international, money laundering कर रहे हैं, ये पूरा money laundering का ही चक्कर है. So Indian is but at the same time, they're saying this is money laundering, but they're also saying that this is more formal. They need more documents in this app than other apps. So I don't know how to make sense of this, but I'm just saying whatever I could think of. And yeah, I think. Okay. So yeah, so in Mumbai, all the malls have all the malls that I visited have they disallow workers in uniforms to go pick up food because that's seen as a consumer space and the presentation kharab ho jayega of the mall. So the workers are supposed to wait niche, and two companies have created the position of a mall boy. This person is in plain clothes. They run up and down to get the order from the food court or the restaurant to the delivery worker waiting downstairs. So that's also really interesting because it seems like there's a clear distinction that you're pushing that if you're a visible worker, you do not enter a space of consumption, which is for the people who are paying and consuming, I suppose. So,
and the utilization of real estate for doing what it's meant for, extracting value to serve food and not as a waiting zone for food delivery workers to hang out and hence deter the middle class consumers.
Yeah. And also it's interesting that they can't just wait anywhere. You could wait at the mall entrance, right? I would wait at the main entrance, but no, you have to wait at the service yard. And that's often not very close to anything. And also, that's where all really big, I suppose, bulky equipment goes in and out of the malls. It's really not a space where you would anticipate people to be waiting at. But that's where people wait, and that's where I spent a long time. And that's also interesting because that space is somewhat a blind spot. Nobody really goes there, so you can actually go and chat if you want there. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to stand. So I think first to respond to Manish's question. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to touch upon this in my presentation, but like there was no time. There's this huge angle of women's safety, right, around cabin, like sharing services, and a lot of cases have also happened. A lot of companies have, they've taken measures, so to speak, to make sure that the drivers don't misbehave in whatever ways they do. So, one of the questions that we were also like discussing when doing this research was to see how the women's safety conversation has affected the drivers and what is the impact of what are the kind of precautions that they have to take to make sure that the women customers don't feel unsafe. And I can say this with like absolute surety because I've experienced this firsthand during the entire course of my fieldwork. There is a very, very clear power hierarchy, and like I was very aware of it, more so because I was doing this research, but like generally the drivers will not, they're instructed to not talk to customers, especially if there are women in the car, they're instructed to not speak to them. And they've told me this upfront. There are very few drivers who said that, oh, we like to talk to customers because, it makes this work easier or whatever. But these are also, they also come from a very particular kind of a background. They're service professionals who need to do this industry. But most of the drivers don't talk to, like, in fact, this was that much of a problem that I was very awkward in initiating conversations with drivers because they really did not want to speak to me. And I felt like, I'm intruding in their personal space. So, yeah, that's one thing. And how that conversation of safety also shifts the onus on the driver to make sure that this doesn't happen. People have told me instances of women falling asleep in their car, especially after they're drunk at night, things like that. And in those instances, they are scared. It's the driver who's scared, no one else, because there's so much, there's a huge conversation around this. And there was this one fleet owner who actually told me that my driver called me in a very panic mode that this lady has fallen asleep in my car. I don't know what to do, and I'm standing at a traffic signal, and people have gathered around my car, and I can't move because they're scared that I've done something to this woman. So it's these kinds of instances. I'm not saying this is commonplace, but it's just generally the kind of mindset that the drivers are in. And to say that there is no power hierarchy is, of course, just not, doesn't make any sense. But but then again, like I don't want to end at this sort of a note because there are also, like I have also mentioned, experiences where they were uncomfortable in these situations and they have set boundaries for themselves. So it's not like they are completely devoid of agency. There were at least two drivers have told me that they got into a car where there was a customer who was making advances on them, and they were not comfortable, and they described tactics where they would just talk them out or just drop them off quickly, finish the ride quickly, or just tell the customer that you're not comfortable and end that trip right there. So there are both sides to the story, but definitely the customer has more power because they have the entire force of the platform company behind them. And one call from the customer can really mess up the driver's work. It can as much as to get them banned. In fact, we visited one of the Uber centers in Delhi, in Mumbai, and they were actually discussing how they should not, there was some kind of complaint that was made against one of the drivers, and they were discussing how we should not take female customers at all because all of them do this. That was their kind of experience. So to that extent, they suffer because of these things.
And we saw us and we said, "Support everything."
Yeah, they're actually slightly looking at us from the corner of their eyes, and they're like, "Hey, actually not. We keep this down." Yeah, and I think the next question that I want to respond to, I'm not so sure I got his name, but he was describing about the dichotomies of old drivers, new drivers. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. So yeah, you're very right in saying that these dichotomies exist, and again, because of limited time, I could not mention them. But this idea of the EMI drivers, you said, right? So it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad for them because they have to pay their EMIs and they can't not because the bank is going to seize their cars. But what is also interesting is that the banks are sort of holding back on seizing the cars. that gives them some kind of leeway. I don't know, it's just an insight. I don't know if this is helpful in clearing out any, like, giving any big sort of a but it was just an observation and also an angle that I wanted to pursue but didn't have enough time. Maybe it'll come out more in detail in the report. But there was this angle of the financiers. I spoke to a couple of financiers also, and they told me that the banks are now not seizing these cars because their go downs are full. And yeah, I mean, they can't do shit. So they've also given up. And every time, like, there are these automobile finance companies specifically, and there was one of them that I spoke to. He told me, like, one of the people that I spoke to told me that I tell my customers to, dheere karke repay the loan, like over a period of time. Even if it takes like 4 months, if it was a 2-month loan, even if it takes like 4 months, you pay it off, but don't give us back the car because we can't do it. And like, I mean, they also make a loss eventually, so that's their logic. And in the other two categories, also the categories of differences that you mentioned, yeah, the migrant and the non-migrant driver thing definitely exists. But and even as you said, like the old and new drivers, especially during the strikes, that definitely comes out. I've seen, like, during this, I've seen videos as well as like live, all of this happening live, that people during the strikes, the people who took out their cars were really, they were stopped, they were beaten up, and it wasn't safe. It was truly not safe for people to take out their cars during that time. But again, for all three of these dichotomies, I don't know which one is worse off. I don't think we can say that for sure because all of them are like equally vulnerable and they have their own insecurities to deal with. But yeah, so I don't know if you can make a definitive statement about that. As like one question that I think Divij asked about the legal aspects of unionization and collectivization. So one of the union members that I spoke to, they told me that they file RTIs and they are in constant touch with the transport ministry in Mumbai, in Maharashtra. But again, they don't really get any response from them because they don't want to interfere in this. And the sense that they have, of course, then is that the government is in on this, and there's no way that they can actually, get their main demand is that they want the fares to be set. That's what the union is arguing for, and there's absolutely no way that they can actually. They don't have any bargaining power as such as of now. And in terms of legal aid, it's very, very minimal. They don't have any particular lawyers or with the union. They don't do any of those things. Whatever they do it in-house and they do it on an impromptu sort of basis, whatever feels right. And the union leader was also booked for damage to the property of these companies by, I think, Uber. He was undergoing a lawsuit at that point of time. And yeah, it's kind of scary to. It was really scary for me, at least, to hear him tell me about how he was just picked up from his house and escorted to the police station and kept there for 1 or 2 days until and unless he told them, and then he was just let go. So he doesn't have any legal support to help him in this situation, and nor does the union for that matter. But for sure, they are definitely working out a way to get in touch, to pressurize the transportation ministry and to get in touch with the ministers, like CM or the transport minister, whoever that is. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you.
Right. So you had asked about the digitization bit. We think of only ratings as a very obvious means of control. Just think about the information that goes out. Like when you book a cab, you get the driver's picture, the number of his car, you get his mobile number, and when the information he gets is your name at the pickup, the pickup location. Similarly, this one driver guy told me that he was defrauded by a customer who took him from Ghaziabad for 4 hours, stopped at multiple places. He incurred a fare of 2,500, and then this guy just said, "मैं फिर से आ रहा हूँ," and he got out of the car and never came back. And he told me this that, "Madam, अभी मैं आपके साथ कुछ करूँ तो आपके पास नहीं तो पुलिस के पास मेरा पूरा information होगा. They'll go to the company and get that information. But if you kill me, where will I get information about you? I don't know where, even if I pick you from, that's a legit case or not." So that information asymmetry is the term that Alex Rosenblatt has used for this discussion. that we have the drivers have very little information about anything. Similarly, about the ratings part, this guy again, this driver told me that when he complained to the Ola customer care, they said कि हम आपको refund तो नहीं दे सकते, but we will cancel that guy's ID, the guy who made this fake booking. But then this guy told me that apparently there are people who are in this business of defrauding who carry multiple SIMs. He said you may cancel an ID, someone may get a new SIM and come back. So which means that rating customers also has its limitations after a point. About the choice part, when you talk about the choice argument, I think the response to that has to be looking at disincentivization. Like drivers are thinking constantly in terms of a daily target. I have to make 2,000, 3,000. We don't know, they don't know if that will happen in 10 trips or 15 trips, which means that if I've been on the road for 6 hours and had 6 trips, I don't know if I can take a break. So, and that's a disincentive by the company. So I don't know if it's still my choice if I'm choosing to stay on the road. The other thing about the variation in types of drivers, a lot of discussion is available in mainstream media also about old versus new drivers, outsider versus insider, but couple of disclaimers. The outsider versus insider is a conversation that I have not seen much in Delhi NCR. Like some of the drivers made some offhand remarks about Biharis, but that's more a prejudice and stereotype and less about the work condition. About the AMI versus salary, now there's a third kind, that's the leasing, where the drivers are paying a daily lease amount to the Uber Ola company itself. And the category that I am focusing on in my report, I couldn't talk much about, is career drivers and people who quit previously white collar jobs to move to this work. And again, a lot of these people who moved from previous employment came to be very happy here because they said that boss ki gali nahi sunni padi. Like that's their incentive, they're not looking for money. About the mental health part, again, this is not a discussion I directly had, but 2 drivers told me that sometimes they're not able to sleep and they don't use the word mental health, they use the word frustration. And they said that समझ में नहीं आता है क्या हो रहा है. Like there's this sense of dissonance where they're not able to make sense. One driver told me that I hadn't read of this incident, but apparently a female passenger asked the driver to change the AC setting, and the driver stopped the car and beat the woman. And this driver, second driver told me about this, and he said it was all over the group. I said I didn't know it. He said, but madam, जो बंदा 14 घंटे नहीं सोएगा, जिसे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा होगा, तो AC पे भी मारेगा. I mean, the fact that they are having to justify violence, knowing that it's not wrong, means that they are trying to kind of make sense of their mental health issues. That's all in terms of
and I just add this one bit that kind of got left out, but it's really interesting, which came out in Anushri and Sarah's work. So it's especially around managing women as risky subjects in that sense, which is also like an interesting polarization if you think about it, because Mumbai is typically a more women-safe city and so on, and Delhi NCR has this reputation of not being safe and so on. And I thought that was also an interesting thing that we got to observe. And in most cases, even if things are being made as a response to, like, women's safety, there's not much of a question of women's agency. So women are constantly seen, understood, and portrayed as risky subjects. It's almost as if it's a risky object that needs to be kind of transported from one place to another. And the driver is, like Anushri said, is solely responsible for what happens in the car. But it also kind of leads to another interesting aspect, which Anushri and Sarah write about in the report, is that just like there's a fantasy of owning your own cab app, there's also a fantasy / narrative around businesses that cater to women only as niche audiences. And we often had sort of back and forth conversations about, like, can we track down? Like, there'll be a government initiative with an Uber or an Ola saying, we're going to train drivers, female drivers, and put them on the road. We're also going to sort of have female to female, passenger to driver connections happening. And there's a whole discourse of safety constantly being mobilized. And we would try and track down news items and see where all this went. And it never went anywhere. And a lot of times we would even track down private initiatives where people have claimed that this is a female driver app cab company and we cater to women and so on. And for good and bad reasons, some actually worked for a few months and some didn't. But in that sense, I think we want to retain it or want to draw your attention to the other myth or fantasy space of, like, managing women as risk, and then if only we had a successful deliverable, if we only had a successful product that catered women to women, a lot of these problems would be solved as if, right? Because then how would these women drivers talk to the male drivers, and like the whole Pandora's box opens up. So yeah, just wanted to flag that big class. We've officially run out of time. We could take one question really, but otherwise we're done.
So, I want to ask one question of researchers because I've been doing this for a long time. So, one of the things we have is absolute no data whatever in terms of what is the real earning of the drivers and even what the app is doing. I think this is a real problem because if you want to actually make it per hour basis what you are earning, right? Because that's where we actually come to the crux of saying how many hours of work you really work. Because that's where we are going to make some kind of a progress to actually make the government say the cab I'm driving is unsafe for me, right? To make an 8 hours work argument go. Now, I think that's which I didn't see it at all. To say that do we have data for it? Because we know these apps are also putting amount directly to the bank accounts, right? And I've tried my best to say, can I see your bank account, right? I think we have not got that where at all, though they are saying you're so transparent that we do that, and I think we have not gone to that end to actually get to that. That's what the problem is. Can we know how much are they really earning? You got it. And that's one question. The second question is, though I know it is Bombay and Delhi, which was talked about, because my work is more on Bangalore. I think there is a interesting kingship which works because Bangalore is more Bangalore, which is outskirts of the whole Mandya belt and this one. I don't know how does it work in Bombay and this one. Because I think the company sense something there, right? I don't see more of the North Indian drivers here. So companies do have some kind of know-how, what kind of people you want to take to recruit. So I don't know if you guys have some sense of how these things are happening. Because I think it's very crucial to understand those things to see how it works.
So to quickly sort of answer those two questions, I did touch upon the data bit. Maybe I don't know if you're around, but I agree with you. And just to kind of tell you how committed I am to this as a problem, I stayed with this problem and said that, I mean, there's often people turning on researchers, qualitative researchers, and coming back and saying, what about that and what about this, and how do you have metrics, and how do we measure everything from wages to time to road space to congestion to ecological implications to externalities on civic infrastructure. All of these questions somehow need the data. And the simple and short answer is that I've gone and asked for data. Companies refuse to engage. They refuse to even talk. So forget asking for data, and the sort of generic answer that you also might get if you went is that we haven't quite figured out how to anonymize so much private data. And so there's no way that we could share this with you. There's no way we could have research collaborations and so on and so forth. Going sort of the provocative way, I think the way to do this would be to mobilize city governments and say, if you want to operate in our city, you need to share the responsibility, and one of those forms of responsibility is sharing data with us, and sharing meaningful data, not the kind of data that Uber's whatever data platform gives, the movement thing. I mean, I've heard from several people who can interrogate it, it's not been of much use. And the second sort of quick thing, I want to shout out to Aditi Suri, who's in the crowd, and she has a new paper out, and some of the questions around migration and especially Bangalore drivers, I think I answered by her paper, so I don't want to kind of talk about it because it's not my work. But I think there's something very interesting going on. What does interest me in that Bangalore connection is that I think there's some amount, like again, we don't have data, but there's some anecdotal claim to be made about whether these platform companies are decongesting the cities or not. And so if you're adding new people to the city and new vehicles, what are you really doing? but there's no way to again interrogate them because there's no data. So it's kind of like chicken and egg.
Yes. Like to the second point, in terms of the community existing, in Bombay, I can only speak for Bombay. There are traditionally only like the Kali Pili cabs have been driven by Muslim drivers, and that kind of seems to be spilling over to platform work as well. And it's not as sudden, but it's also kind of like a flow because initially also there was Meru, then Uber and Ola, all of these things. So there's some kind of a flow there as well. I couldn't get a lot of concrete evidence on this, so to speak, but there's definitely some connection in terms of community in Mumbai as well. And most of the drivers are migrants. So even if if they're not Muslims, they're either from UP or Bihar or somewhere else. And I've hardly seen native drivers have that kind of future structures as strong as these people, like Muslim drivers or migrant drivers.
Right. What was the first one? I think you mentioned also like the wage, right? I think one thing that often does not get spoken about is the effective wage that the driver actually makes. Like there's earnings that he gets from the company that he can take, whatever, 60, 70,000 or whatever. But all these platform workers invest a lot of money to actually get in the first place. And the majority of that, a lot of the times I've spoken to essentially say that I'm going to get out of the job as soon as I finish paying my EMI, which is essentially coming back to the thing. So I think that's something that gets left out as well in terms of
There's a lot of researchers have definitely focused on dead miles.
Yeah.
So the cost you spend from going one place to another and so on, and also the invisible costs, which are also something we do have to put a hard stop on this.
No, sorry. So I just wanted to respond to something that you said. So I'm going to be that person in the conference who says I don't have a question but a comment. So I did meet somebody in Bombay, in Bangalore, who runs an exclusive women's cab service, and it was more from the point of view of employment for women than service to women. But there again, they noticed that having women as a customer was more expensive, and now their customers are children because they have a long-term picking up and dropping from school. Engagement rather than one of women picking up. And women drivers found it safer when there were children in the backseat than other women. Yeah.
So just one time, that's the model that's being replicated across Delhi also. It's the same model that if an Uber ride will cost you 150, then this niche women's ride will cost you 250. Like it's capitalism there too. They say they are promising you safety, so you pay extra, like the women driver
And the nurturing women driving.
Yeah.
But there's some legal risks, at least in the US, why some of these services shut down is because you can't enter in a contract or whatever with a child. So often it'll be parents ordering rides for their kids and putting the kid inside and then doubling the risk that the driver has to take because if you get stopped, then what are you going to say and so on. Okay, we have to stop. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I think we can have this space for maybe another 10 minutes if you want to catch up with the fellows. But also, there are postcards on the table on your way out, which are photographs that we took in field work. There are only 3 photographs and many postcards there right now, but there'll be more. So feel free to take one and maybe write a postcard to one of your friends who uses a lot of platform services and talk to them about responsibility in the gig economy or something like that. So yeah, thank you.
Jumping on something.
Yeah.
Not